Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Joe and Joe on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. This Monday, April the 20th, 2020. It's 420 Day, which they're not making too big a deal of.
I'm not saying anything.
we
Actually,
do.
a sad day today, Joe, because Scott Driller told me about this. Tom Lester, over the weekend, Tom Lester passed away.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just fresh in my mind. Tom Lester.
Tom Lester, Ebb on Green Acres.
Oh, Eb. Oh, no, really?
The
Oh, good
last,
God. The
the
last
last
surviving Green
surviving cast
Acres.
member.
Wow.
Want to
Boy.
guess how old he was?
Well, I'm going to say. Well, I'm going to say he wasn't as young as you might think. So I'm going to probably say at least in his 80s, maybe a little bit more.
You're right. He was in his 80s.
Oh, okay.
81.
Good.
81.
Oh, God bless him.
And interestingly, while he played a silly, stupid buffoon on Green Acres, he was a very talented man. I saw him. He almost got me to cry on a guest shot on Little House on the Prairie, where he really showed off his acting chops. And he was also a preacher in real life. So, we think of him in one
You see
sense
him,
as
and you see
silly.
some of these people as just the one character, and you forget sometimes television is a way of doing that. You forget that they're human beings with real lives.
Right,
Their
right.
characters are not their lives.
It could be surprising. I think I've mentioned on a couple of occasions here one of the a very dramatic acting by Dom DeLuise of all people in the movie Failsafe
Oh
in
yeah, he was he
'64.
was he was he
So,
was great. And so was Larry Hagman. My God, we talked about this once before at
right,
Failsafe. Larry Hagman should have gotten a supporting actor nomination for playing
absolutely
the interpreter. That was an incredible performance that he did. And yet
right,
you know him from I Dream of Jeannie. You know him from Dallas.
right.
For those of us who go far back enough to remember Dallas or the late '70s. Anyhow, we are on course for severe weather, and I knew that immediately this afternoon. I was waiting for SPC to put out their updated forecast because they didn't put one out at 12Z. They actually put it out at 6Z. So I thought maybe they'd freshen it up at 12Z. So I waited and waited and waited. And then about 1:30, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead with this. And when they updated. And I knew in the back of my mind that the minute I posted my my weather post on Patreon and on my website and on Facebook and on Discord and on Twitter, as soon as I hit the last post, lo and behold, guess what? They upgraded the risk. And I looked around at a lot of the models through the day, Joe. One of the things that I found that was a really kind of remarkable with respect to the short range models, it just seems that every time we have these convective events, when you look at the short range models, oftentimes, even in ones where you've got elevated risks for severe weather, they all seem to have different ways of viewing, where these thunderstorms are going to be. And what I found remarkable was that the HRRR, the NAM3, the NAM12, the GFS, and I stopped at that point because I figured, you know what, that's enough support for me. It's remarkable how all four of those models have the thunderstorm line coming through tomorrow almost the same way. In
Right.
terms of structure, in terms of geography. I mean, some places on some models the cells are stronger than others, and I get that, but the overall look on all the models is the same, and I thought pretty impressive.
I, we've been talking about this now. I think you first brought it up on Friday. Saturday evening, actually, you and I were discussing this. In fact, I sent you a 20-page PDF on a
Yes,
study
I did. I still have it.
of this type of a case of what's called the inverted V structure, where we have very dry air at the bottom of the atmosphere, very moist air above, and how the mixing and the very sharp trough that's coming through will set the stage for that. And interestingly also is that a lot of the discussions point out that there isn't all that much in the way of instability. I mean, if you look at this straight out, right off the bat, you say to yourself, well, everything is like marginal or it may not necessarily happen. But still, because of the unusual scenario of this trough,
Well,
literally like going
it's
negative
all
still
it's
right
all
off.
about the upper trough. The upper trough is very deep.
It is.
It's very strong, and that I think a little bit of April daytime heating I think is going to be enough to create some issues tomorrow afternoon.
The one thing I did not understand, and you said you saw the update. They put us in slight chance of severe tomorrow. No, this is not a tornado threat.
No,
It
it's
certainly,
all wind.
it certainly is a high wind threat or
Yeah.
a threat of damaging winds. But then I said, well, what do they have to say about hail? Do you know that they didn't have anything for hail?
Yeah, they didn't. Now you
And
know what? They may just maybe tomorrow they'll put it in there.
this is
They
this
they
to me,
they like to do these things in sort of stair step fashion. Uh,
unless that's for large hail. This is not going to be. I think it's just going to be like more like little pea-sized hail.
yeah, I mean we're
It's
not going to get golf balls the size of hail
no,
or
no.
or softballs the size of hail. But here's the hit risk code. By the way, Bill Uber, thank you for hitting super chat tonight. Hit it before the show started, which Joe and I both appreciate greatly. Here's what SPC did. The first thing they did this morning was they stretched the area of marginal risk down to northeastern North Carolina and slightly extended the northern edge of marginal risk on up to southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire. Then this afternoon they added the slight risk, which covers southern New England, the Hudson Valley lower, and a little bit of the middle Hudson Valley, Long Island, New York City, all of New Jersey, eastern, southeastern, and a small portion of south central Pennsylvania down into northern Delaware and northeastern Maryland. So, Philadelphia, New York City, Hartford, all in that slight risk zone. And the overall area, Joe, covers pretty much everybody up I 95 from Richmond to DC to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York City to Hartford to Providence to Boston
Now
and Albany, by the way.
let's see whether or not my prophetic statement yesterday works out. I had said yesterday when we were under marginal risk, I said tomorrow they're going to raise it to slight, and they have done that. But I also said that on Tuesday, after they all get wind of the synoptic situation and take out the 12Z data, that some part of that slight risk area is going to be shaded into an enhanced zone, and that may very well happen. I think tomorrow too, especially if they start seeing those showers and storms start building. A narrow squall line, but a very potent squall line anticipated to roll on through the immediate tri-state area based upon the models, Joe, anytime between 2 and 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Right, very fast. Timothy Veltman pointing out correctly, by the way, we had it a couple of times over the winter where we saw convection outside of risk areas of cold of risk areas in the cooler air, and I
Right.
think that's a valid point because that actually happened a few times. I would not at all be shocked to see it happen again because of the strength of this trough. I think to me, it's the upper trough, and I'll show it to you guys, everybody, in a second, in a bit. But it's the upper trough really that's driving all this because it's not like we have dew points in the 60s and low 70s here. It's very dry at the bottom part of the atmosphere. It's all about what's going on aloft, and also the fact that I'm a firm believer in the notion that uh, stuff tends to repeat. It may not repeat exactly, but it does. Like history doesn't repeat itself, but it does tend to rhyme. Okay, and
Yes.
I think is going to be one of those rhyming cases. We also should just point out there is also risk tomorrow in Oklahoma, Northwest Texas, and southernmost Kansas, and a small portion of New Mexico and southeastern Colorado, and that's with the next round of weather systems that's going to be coming into long range, which we'll get to in a second. But I want to bring up, Joe. I'm going to bring up. I looped the HRRR and the NAM3 earlier today, and then I just updated it off the 18Z HRRRs because that takes us right through the daytime tomorrow. And take a look at the squall line that it develops. It actually has a lead line of showers that comes through around 10 or 11 a.m. And then you get the stronger thunderstorms that just, you know, blossom rapidly and then fly through. And as you mentioned yesterday, the momentum here is of the forward motion and the momentum is going to play a role in the strength of the wind gusts. But look at the HRRR, and then I'm going to go over to the NAM 3. Uh, Actually, I'm sorry. This was the HRRR from earlier. This is the HRRR. This was the 12Z HRRR, and I let it roll through. And here's the 18Z HRRR, which is pretty much, it's actually, to me, it made the squall line look even stronger. The NAM 3 from earlier today, from the 12Z run, was also, I mean, it looks almost the same. It has this just really well defined squall line. So my confidence level here on this happening is rather high.
I agree with you 100%. And in terms of the speed of this cold front, I kind of, looked at the 12Z and 18Z surface projections for tomorrow. This thing starts out 12Z tomorrow, uh, moving across the western end of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania
All right, let
Ohio.
me bring up. I'll bring up the NAM 3 while you describe it. Okay, I'll go back to 12Z so we can start from there. Hang on one second. It's loading up, and this is the 18Z NAM 3, which I actually haven't looked at, so it'll be a surprise to us all. So here we go. So you said at 12Z, you see the beginnings. You're talking about where it's going to be at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Right. By 12Z tomorrow, it's just past the Ohio Pennsylvania border. And you figure, okay, if you use the Pittsburgh rule, it's probably still a few hours away. But, the Pittsburgh rule says anything in Pittsburgh is here 8 hours later or thereabouts. Well, you go 6 hours in, and already that cold front, if you believe this at face value, is already getting ready to cross through the tri-state area. That's a 50 mile per hour plus velocity moving across New York State and Pennsylvania tomorrow. That is rapid motion. And yeah, Joe, as you just pointed out, that's going to play a role in the gusty winds. The first from the south and southeast ahead of the system tomorrow, and then that very rapid, if not violent, switch over from south southeast over into the northwest with the
Right.
actual frontal passage. And
Well, on the NAM 3 at 18Z, which is at 2 o'clock, it actually has this sort of lead area that runs out ahead through New York City, Connecticut, and Western New England. Then it's got a line that is trying to form in eastern Pennsylvania down into Maryland and Northern Virginia, and then yet there's a third line behind that. And what's interesting with the third line, Joe, is that on the western edge of that line, it changes over to snow,
right,
and you've got eventually by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you've got a separate strong line moving through the Hudson Valley, and then the bottom part of that, there's a little bit of a fracture. Then there's another. The bottom part of that line is from New York City and Western Long Island, southwest through New Jersey into Maryland, and then of course it all just continues to merge as it moves out to the east. As I said, I'm impressed with this in terms of the of how this plays. That is a very very sharp cold front indeed.
yeah, you might see after the final line move through, it may be one of those situations where uh, half of the sky is kind of a grayish black, and the other half of the sky, with the advance of the drier and much chillier air, the other half of the sky is that deep blue color, and it's especially blue. I don't know if you've noticed this, Joe. I certainly have, but with the lack of any industry, with the lack of any aircraft flying around over the last 3 or 4 weeks, our
Hmm.
skies have actually gotten cleaner.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no, I have picked up on that.
a pure blue, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
So,
There one upside through all of this.
right.
We are actually able to breathe a bit better.
And
Uh,
Tim Veltman asked a question when I did a short fused update on my YouTube channel a few hours ago, Joe Ray or Weather, which if you haven't subscribed, you really should. But Tim Veltman mentioned or asked the question: do you think that the area of slight tomorrow might actually be by the Storm Prediction Center might actually be pushed further north up into the Albany area? I can't see why not. Um, it certainly looks like. I mean, he's right on the cusp of it anyway, um, and I don't see any reason why they won't make that slight zone a bit larger. another friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Pete Bergman, was asking the question. So they actually have the entire island, Long Island, in this as well, not taking into account, any knockdown in thunderstorm strength, as usually happens when after it passes New York City and encounters
Yeah.
the island and encounters the sea breeze. My comment to that is the darn thing is moving so fast, it won't have a chance to weaken.
I also think that in a case like this, most of the time when the thunderstorms weaken on Long Island, as you just pointed out, it's when they're not moving very quickly. You get that, especially in the springtime and even into June and early July, you get the wind coming in off the colder water, and it kind of, whatever's coming across to the west winds up falling apart. But this is also different in that you're dealing with a very, very impressive looking, there's this upper low that's cutting off north of Lake Huron with a very deep trough here that is, swinging to the east. I mean, this is a powerhouse. And,
Right.
it's in these instances that the upper air support trumps, in my view, everything else. It trumps any wind coming in off the water. And again, that's that speed of motion. These are not going to be thunderstorms that are going to cause flash flooding by any means. The rainfall coming out of this stuff is not going to be anything to write home about. I mean, it may briefly rain hard, but that's it. I think the bigger issue will be the downdrafts,
Right.
and the possibility that there could be a microburst, and where you wind up with a gust of 70 miles an hour or more, an isolated wind gust of 70 miles an hour. On the one hand, I don't want to overplay this. On the other, because at the end of the day, we just have to wait for the cells to develop and see what we got. But I don't want to. On the same token, I don't want to underestimate them when you're dealing with an upper air feature like this. And Mark G asked, do I think the line could weaken, the secondary line being potent as depicted by the models? Well, sometimes when you get these lead lines that run out of ahead, they oftentimes they can zap the energy in the atmosphere, but those seem to be forming well ahead of the upper trough. There looks like there might be a little bit of a weak lead shortwave that comes out and causes those to develop, and then you get this. You get the atmosphere reacting to the body of the upper trough, moving into New York State and into southeastern Canada, triggering off the second more powerful line. So, I think what we just need to do is just wait to see what things look like tomorrow morning, see what the soundings look like, and then we'll go from there in terms of how this ultimately plays out. Somebody is going to get a very a very strong thunderstorm with good, solid. When I say good, I mean in strength. Not that it's a good thing, but with some solid wind gusts, and there'll probably be a few people that are going to be in between cells that may not see very much.
And the other thing that I think is going to be the case with this low top convection is whatever we see in terms of thunderstorms tomorrow. Thunderstorms you may have like this distant rolling thunder or bum, 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 bum. But I think this is the kind of situation where we're going to have sharp cracks of thunder, explosive thunder tomorrow, and that of course would be accompanied by some very vivid lightning. So I think nature is going to put on a show for us tomorrow. And again, Joe, as we mentioned yesterday, had this been January or February with this kind of thing, we'd be telling everybody about snow squalls. No question that that would have been the case. It's just a little bit on the warm side now. It is, after all, April. Hard to believe.
Yeah, I know it definitely is hard to believe, and at least it is gonna play out that way upstate though, that part of the line, because the models are showing a little bit of snow getting in there. Not that it will amount to much, but it does get into a little bit of snow.
Lake effect. Lake
Yeah,
effect.
yes,
Yeah.
and then this system pulls out. We've got improving weather conditions on Wednesday, but as we mentioned, there's going to be potential for severe weather back through Oklahoma and Texas on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, I'm just going to go back to the SPC forecast because I want to set up, what's coming for later on in the week and the weekend, because we do have another weather system in play, and on Wednesday into Thursday, Wednesday 12Z so 8 a.m. Wednesday to 8 a.m. Thursday. Once again, you have severe weather risk over much of eastern Texas, southern Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, most of Louisiana, and into Mississippi. So this is going to be with the next weather system in play, and with with the upper air the way it is, I'm sad to say this, but the upper air the way it is, uh, this looks like we're going into a stretch of weather where we're not going to see a whole lot of sun. Uh, we may actually see less sun than what we have been seeing, and we haven't been seeing that much to begin with, because these weather systems are moving along, but more also as the upper air shows you, and I jumped over to Thursday night. So you've got a short wave moving into the east. There's already another short wave dropping into the Rockies and Plains. You've got this cold northern jet that's still sitting there in Canada. Kind of, it's relaxed enough where these short waves are moving far enough north where we're going to be seeing impact over a large area in terms of clouds and rain. But it's not overly. Uh, the systems in the northern stream are not coming down and phasing with these short waves where they wind up producing major storms. So the bottom line is you're just going to have kind of a train of these going by, and again, we're going to be starved, I think, for sunshine much of the time, because even when it's not raining, we're probably going to wind up seeing days where we're fighting onshore flow. At least that's kind of how I saw it, Joe. I don't know if you saw it differently than me, but I'm running through the GFS. Let me just get the GFS up. But I'm going to run through the GFS here, and there's your next low Wednesday in Arkansas, moving straight east across Virginia and off the New Jersey coast. And that's got rain here Thursday night, into late Thursday into most of Friday. And then it goes out, and there's already one behind it with a low at Chicago that's got rain here by Saturday afternoon, and covering much of the Northeast, even still hanging around into Monday morning. And then there's another system for the middle part of next week that moves across the Great Lakes in the east. So it's just a very, very busy pattern ahead, and not a whole lot of nice days to look forward to, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, you're right. With the front tomorrow, a storm moving offshore relative to our area Friday, another storm moving virtually over us during the day on Sunday. And over the next 7 days, there are only 2 days. You talk about cloud cover at a premium. The only 2 days I see with any semblance of good sunshine will be Wednesday
Right.
and also Saturday. And all the other days look like they're going to be just filled with clouds. We may start out with some sun early Thursday, but we should cloud over. A cloudy, kind of dank, dreary, chilly day on Friday. Then we'll dry out. Saturday looks okay. Maybe some late day clouds, but much of Saturday looks okay. Sunday, another cloudy, dreary day with more wet weather, maybe even a thunderstorm.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're gonna squeeze in whatever dry period you get. You got to take advantage of.
Correct.
So I'm going to bring up because we haven't done tonight's weather yet. I want to just show everybody what's going on tonight because we did have a coastal low that developed from all that severe weather and low pressure that came out of the south. The severe weather actually kind of was. I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? The models were a little bit too robust in terms of what played out in reality. I don't believe, I know David Schwartz put up the number of tornadoes, and unfortunately, my horrible memory, I forgot the number. So, but they were small. Let me just take a look if SPC's got something here I can reference. Um, so while there were a few tornadoes yesterday, I didn't hear about any um, major ones. Let's see.
Well, one of our viewers, Tony Pierra, made a comment about the fact they had a tornado around Titusville in Florida, I guess
Yes.
yesterday. So
Well, no, there was severe weather today, in this from this morning in northern Florida with the cold front moving south. So far today, there have been five tornadoes, 21 reports of five tornadoes, 21 wind reports, and eight reports of hail. And I'm just going to go get the plot. Maybe I could pull up the plot from yesterday.
and of course
Um,
Titusville is a place that is not too far from Cape Canaveral, and you talk about a great viewing spot for when they used to launch the shuttles. In fact, I can tell you that every time a shuttle launch was due, if you try to get a hotel room, let's say even a Motel 6 in Titusville, it usually was like triple the normal cost because so many people were grabbing onto rooms or
Yeah,
viewing a shuttle launch. Titusville, and also where uh, uh, Jeannie and and
Major Healy and Major Nelson
whatever
and
Cocoa
Dr.
Beach.
Bellows.
Yeah.
Yesterday, from SPC, I found the link. I knew it was there somewhere. It's so small, it's hard to see. At spc.noaa.gov, 13 tornadoes, 210 reports of damaging wind, 58 reports of hail, and you can see how it graphically plays out. And when we go to today, this was down in Florida and parts of the southeast coast. 5 tornado, 21 with wind, and 9 with respect to hail. Our low moved off the coast. We were stuck with clouds all day. Finally, starting to see the clouds move out, and it looks like we'll clear out for a while. And you can already see the cold front that we're talking about for tomorrow, with the clouds that are now swinging across the Great Lakes. Right there is your front. You're looking at some very good, strong rotation here, telling you that the upper low that is going to be forming there, that whole upper trough that's driving eastward. This system is moving away to the northeast, of course, and you're starting to see more action coming in to the southwest, and that's your next weather system that's going to be in play. Also, I'm just kind of looking over parts of Arkansas into northwestern Tennessee. If you look on the loop, there seems to be a rather, little isolated area here of thunderstorm development that's going on this evening. And as we'll bring up the radar and take a look at that, and you can see there are a few cells here moving through parts of southern Missouri and into Arkansas and back over through Oklahoma, southeastern Missouri, back to the Oklahoma Panhandle. In the east, the rain is well offshore. You've got some showers and storms in southern Florida going on at the moment. Looks like some around Naples and near Fort Myers on the west side, and probably up around West Palm Beach, Pompano on the east side. And then, of course, you can see the precip that's up in the Great Lakes with our upper trough that's moving right along. And WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, their 7-day rainfall forecast is a busy one and a wet one. This is, a lot of this is for the weather systems that we're dealing later this week and for the weekend. But we get quite a bit of moisture here, Joe, between 1.5 and 2.5 inches of rain running from southern New England all the way down to the Delmarva Peninsula, and a fairly large area of 1.5 to 3 inches of rain covering much of the eastern United States, going back into the southern plains. And we don't want to forget the Pacific Northwest. It looks like they're going to be getting hit hard with some rain over the next 7 days as weather systems continue to come in off the Pacific side and get ejected out to the east.
Right. We've got a, indeed, we're in the purple there. So that means that over the next week, WPC is expecting, at least in the tri state area, on the order of something like 2 to 3 inches of rain. And that probably is due slightly in part to what we're going to see tomorrow, but more likely the Friday system and the Sunday system. And incidentally, I've noticed, one thing I never got a chance to do
By the
when
way,
I
we're back full screen, both of us, just so you know. Go on.
one thing that I never got a chance really to do when I was doing the weather regularly in the evening over at News 12 is watch the other or competing channels or other forecasters. But now that I'm in my situation here, and you are too, so I do, out of curiosity, I check to see what some of the other forecasts are saying. Now, for Friday, I saw a lot of forecasts suggesting high temperatures of around 60. I, for the life of me, can't see how we're going to get to
How are you going
60.
to do that if you got an onshore wind?
I
This
know.
this is April. It's not July.
I, I,
Seriously.
but I mean, like, here's an example. I think that the numbers that were churned out by, model like the GFSX, the extended forecast, Moss extended that model, is showing out, 58, 59, 60 degrees. But again, you got to use your noodle here. It's going to be mainly cloudy on Friday. That east northeasterly wind. It's going to rain in the Hudson Valley. I think it's going to be a struggle just to make it above 50 on Friday. Maybe mid 50s or low 50s in New York City. I think 60 is way off the chart
No,
for Hope.
yeah, I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it.
Yep. And same
Um,
thing for Sunday too. Sunday, yeah, mid or low 50s again. I mean, those are going to be two dank, dreary, and rather chilly days.
yeah, see, unlike you, Joe, I have no curiosity or desire to watch anybody else. I just, I haven't for years. I couldn't tell you, I mean, I kind of know who the main people are. Um, some of them I know personally, some of them I don't. But as far as everyone, who's on in the weekends, who's on in the mornings, who's on at noon, no. It's been years since I've actually taken the time, years, where I've actually taken the time. And when we worked together at FiOS, when I, how I acted when the other stations were, the other newscasts were coming on the other monitors. I couldn't
Right, right,
find the mute button fast enough.
right, right, right. And of course, this goes even further back. I think I may have told the story before when I was into radio. I used to do a station up in Providence, Rhode Island, WHJJ. The news director there, John Carpilio. And whenever we had a major storm, especially in the winter, and I gave the snow, I would first record my forecast for that station. And then after I did everything, he would say, "Well, Copeland says," a reference to Bob Copeland up in Boston, and or somebody else, whoever was on a competing station. Well, he said and she said or
I
whatever.
used to
And
hate that.
I told him, I said, quite frankly, I don't care what Bob Copeland or whoever else said what. I'm saying what I'm saying. And in other words, do you expect me to change now? Now that I've given you your forecast, you want me to change to make it more sound like
I'm sure if Bob
me?
Copeland knew he was being quoted, he'd want to be paid for it. Oh, it used to drive me crazy. I mean, I kind of, I understand sort of why they would used to do that because they used to do that to me too. Um, but it used to drive me nuts. It's sort of like I used to think to myself, it's like, why do you even bother having me here? If you're gonna quote all these other people, apparently you have a lot of time to watch weathercasts and quote other people at what they're saying, because I don't have any idea what they're saying. Because you know what? And I tell this to young forecasters, and it's really important. You shouldn't have any idea what other people are saying until after you do your own forecast anyway, because you don't want to be biased. So you shouldn't be watching other people until after you get your work done.
Uh,
I've taken it a step further. I just don't watch anybody at all.
to me, it's a whole new world. I mean, like, what am I doing? At 3 o'clock, I was usually sitting right across from you and typing and putting together my forecast for FiOS 1. Now,
Right.
what am I doing at 3 o'clock? I'm eating my lunch and I'm watching Bob Ross paint on on one of the educational channels.
Well, that's usually if it's a break time for me. I DVR my Perry Mason episodes and I watch them then. Yes, you got your Bob Ross bobblehead there.
Right.
See, Alaska Railroad has the right attitude. He says he only watches you and I, and that's as it should be. Thank you, Alaska Railroad, for that endorsement. I really do appreciate it. Okie AG is giving weather conditions the way we would love it here: sunny, breezy, and 74. That's just he's in the great state of Oklahoma. Um, 2.5 inches of rain, though, straight line winds, and barn houses thrashed. Yeah, I'm sure. Sunny, breezy, and 74 though just sounds so good. We have no clue what that feels like because it hasn't happened yet here. And actually, most times in March and April, you usually get at least 1 or 2 days where temperatures get up into the 70s, where you have bright sunshine all day long. Hasn't happened yet, so we're still, the pattern is wonderfully winter-like at the point where you really want it to just go away.
Did you ever see the movie Pleasantville? That came out in 1998 about how it's a story about how a teenage couple they somehow Don Knotts pulls them into a 1950s sitcom named
Oh
Pleasant
yes, I did
in,
see that a long
in,
time ago.
in black
Yes,
and white.
yes, I
That
remember
was
now.
on that was on cable the other night, and like you see the weatherman, everything is perfect in Pleasantville. I mean, at the basketball team, they get every shot into the basket.
Right.
And you see the weather forecast on TV in Pleasantville. The guy says, well, here's the weather for today: bright and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. Tonight, clear, lots of stars. And tomorrow, another bright, sunny day with no clouds. High today, 72. Low tonight, 72. High tomorrow, 72.
Yeah, no. I, on the other hand, I just finished watching Ozark on Netflix. The 3 seasons of Ozark. If you haven't seen Ozark, let me just tell you I'm not going to give it away. It's a very interesting plot line. Um, re, it's about gambling casinos in the state of Missouri. But I will just say this: there is not one redeeming character in the entire show. Okay, they're all evil in one form or another. There might be a couple of people that have a little bit of maybe that much good in them, but they are really evil. You find yourself wanting to take a shower after every episode. But the show is the show has me hooked because it just does. I'll just leave it at that. So if you need a show to watch, watch Ozark, and give it a few episodes to get you into it. You'll
Yeah.
see. You'll find out where it goes. So let's do a little bit of a Briller Jeopardy. Scott Briller, I don't know if he was on earlier and then he had to go. Was he here today? I don't see him on the
Scott,
board today. He's
Scott Miller's
taking care
usually,
of his mom. His mom just had her birthday last week. Happy birthday to Scott's mom, and hope she enjoyed and had some cake and some good food, etc., etc., etc. And
well,
once
Scott
again,
Miller's the one who told me about Ebb passing
oh,
away.
okay.
So,
And also, just want to once again mention thanks, Bill Uber, for William Uber for hitting super chat tonight. Joe and I really appreciate it. So let's do a little Briller Jeopardy. And today's Jeopardy question is the number of 5-inch snowstorms that Caribou, Maine has had in the month of May.
in May,
Yes,
in May,
in May.
and they've had how much have they had so far this season? Like they've had like 150 inches, and they're gonna
Yeah, yeah, it was something like that. It was way up there.
and they're probably gonna have after this system passes by tomorrow night or Wednesday, they're probably gonna have another what 3, 4, 5 more inches.
Maybe Scott said that mentioned said to me yesterday that yesterday was the first time after 159 consecutive days of snow cover of at least 1 inch on the ground, a caribou has bare ground.
Really?
And that goes after getting a foot and a half late last week, but that's the April snows and the sun.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so that's all gone. But how many in the month? How many 5-inch plus snowstorms in the
Oh,
month of May?
I'll I'll say 25.
Two,
Two.
two in the month
Really?
of May.
See, I over.
1967 and 1996. Only two.
I
I would have thought the number would have been higher.
I thought so too. I overcompensated. You figure if they're going to be this close, this is the last weekend of April. We're this close to May, and we're still talking about several inches or more snow for places like Caribou. So you figured it would happen a lot more than just twice. But anyway, that's interesting. And 96, the winter of 96, everybody was getting snow.
That's correct. That's correct. So tomorrow, since you and I can do this, we can live stream during the thunderstorms as they still. Well, look, we can't sit here for 4 hours and live stream. I mean, we can, but I don't know that we want to. But you're around tomorrow if we want to jump on to early afternoon. I'm around tomorrow, so uh, look for us. Look for a notification. We may jump on when these thunderstorms are going by. Does that work for you?
Well, if they're going by, my only concern would be just losing power. But I didn't lose power last Monday for some strange reason. I usually do in a situation like that. But they cut a lot of trees prior to the winter season around here, so that may have helped in precluding, power lines going down.
Well,
But
what if I will watch the radar tomorrow, and either maybe around noon or 1 o'clock we'll jump on. They'll
yeah,
be in their formative stages, and then they'll play through however they play through, and we'll see how it goes, and then maybe we'll come back and recap and at night, and go ahead and look ahead at the long range.
so as Bud Collier used to say every afternoon on To Tell the Truth, thank you for watching the daytime version, and we'll be back with the nighttime version.
Right.
And we'll be back
The folks at home must really
again
think
tomorrow.
that we our brains really were saturated with a lot of television.
Yes,
And the thing is, there was, I know with me, after a certain time period, I used to watch a lot of, I was always very much enamored with television, not just watching it, but just the history and just like anybody. But as I've grown older, I found myself spending less and less time watching TV to the point now where I rarely, for me to watch a series like Ozark is a rarity, and of course now there's so much to choose from. But that's you know we were at a time where that was our only distraction. We grew up at a time where television was really one of the few distractions that was around and that you could afford. Okay, because that was another key. Now it's there's so many different distractions that you can spend time on. And plus, we have our own show. We have our own show. Whoever thought we would have had our own show?
right, right.
Although God knows we deserved it, we just never found any management that was smart enough to put us together on the air.
Well, that would be. They do it on radio. They do it on radio. I mean, like they have broadcast team sport, especially for sports. It'd be great if they teamed us up on either on radio or maybe the Weather Channel.
I'm
Uh,
perfectly happy with doing what we're doing on YouTube. Anyone that wants to take this feed and put it on their channel at the same time,
sure,
they're more than welcome to do that. Joe and I, we are. Well, I'm not going to say that we'll work for a small fee because we won't. Okay. Um, you know what? You're going to have, if anyone's really interested in doing that, they're going to have to really pay up. Okay. Wherever they put the decimal point in the amount, I'm going to move it over several places.
right.
All right. In several places to the right. Okay. And not to the left.
And don't forget the benefits. You know,
Oh, well, first of all, I can't possibly be doing anything before 10 in the morning. I must be done before 4:30 at night.
right.
Okay. I want my own trailer. I want my own, I want all my meals. I
And
want to,
lunch, yeah.
I want a car to pick me up at my house and bring me back to my house.
No, that would
Okay. Literally drive me around the block just to say that I got picked up by a car and brought and chauffeured to my job and back.
right.
And
dream,
I plan to be very difficult.
dream on, Mr. Chiaffi.
Yeah, I know.
We're here together here, and a lot of people tune in, and we'll be here tomorrow, just before we have Armageddon with
Right. So everybody figure either noon or 1 o'clock. We'll jump on. We'll see how this all breaks, and then we'll be back tomorrow evening, and we'll just recap it. All right. So have a great night, Joe. Everybody at home, have a great night. Stay safe. Social distance. Blah blah blah. William Uber hitting super chat. Thank you very much, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.